Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today we've got a special guest, and that's Mike Holt from Common Law AU on his popular Instagram. He's also on Facebook and just been deplatformed from X. But we're going to be diving into all the stuff around the law and the Constitution and how Australia's been overtaken, and then get into some solutions. So awesome to have you on, Mike.
Thank you. And I don't feel so special. I've been battered and bruised by this bloody government, excuse my French, but I'm likely to get a bit more French later on as we go.
That's all right. You've got a free platform to speak here while we still can. So, for those that haven't followed you, what's your kind of background and what led you down this path to discovering all this corruption?
Uh, well, if you want to go right back to the beginning, I'm a 10 quid pommy. I came over here in the 50s for £10 with my family. Uh, Loved it here. In fact, I've got a funny story about that because when I came here, I moved to a little suburb of Brisbane called Inala. And in those days, Inala was full of European refugees, and it was quite an interesting place. It was a bit rough, but I grew up in the Commonwealth of Australia. I knew my rights. I was educated in my rights. I studied social studies and all the rest of it. So when the Vietnam War came along, I thought, well, I don't want to be a grunt in the bush fighting on the ground. So I joined the RAAF. They still sent me to the war. But when I came back, uh, not long after that, Whitlam got elected, and I saw how he started the whole destruction of our country, which has led up to today. Now, at that stage, I was too young to understand just what he was up to, but I knew there was something wrong. So after about 8 years of him and Fraser, I decided I wanted to go out and have a look at the rest of the world and see what was happening there. Was it as bad there as it was here? And if you think today, those days was bad, I should have known about today. But anyway, I left Australia intending to travel overland on the hippie trail to England. But I got as far as Thailand, and because of my service up there in northeast Thailand, I'd already fallen in love with the country. So in the week that I was supposed to stay there, uh, I I was offered a job, and I went home to my hotel, and I thought to myself, well, do I take this job or do I go to England? Now in England, it's cold. I didn't know anybody. I had no job prospects, and the food was crap, and the government was even worse. I could see it was another Labor government over there. Whereas in Thailand, I had the three hots. I had hot weather, hot food, and hot women. I stayed. Within a year, I got married, and that marriage lasted about, I don't know, 12 years or so. Unfortunately, we had some misfortunes bearing children, and eventually the wife and I decided to split. It was an amicable decision. We just couldn't create babies, and I wanted a big family. So about 10 years later on, I was lucky enough to meet my current wife. And then after that, uh, we had two young daughters, and I decided to come back here. And I thought we were coming back to a decent country with a good government, Western style government, because in Thailand, I lived through 5 coups. So I know what a coup looks like. And when I came back here, the first 2 years were good. And then along came Gillard and stabbed Rudd in the back. And I thought, hang on a minute, that's a coup. How can they do that? So then I started investigating, and I soon got involved with a chap called Charles Mollison, who had written an alternative constitution, and it was actually a pretty good one. I didn't agree with everything in it, but a lot of it was excellent work. So Charles and I worked together for a few years, but Charles never had any real answers on what to do to fix it. He had a plan once we fixed it, but how do we fix it? And he could never answer that question. So eventually our interests diverged, and I went out on my own, created a group called Restore Australia, which I had to change the name of because we had Reclaim Australia and people were confusing us. Now, with the new name, Advance Australia, I have another problem because the Liberal Party stole my name and set up as advanceaustralia.org, whereas mine came before. It was advanced-australia.com. So I've had a lot of difficulties put in my way to get the word out there, but I'm still battling on. And I've got another website now called cirnow.com.au, where I am exposing all the crimes and corruption of all the governments. Sorry about that.
No, you're right. You're right. Well, I'll put all the links to your websites down below for everyone to check out. But for those that maybe aren't familiar with how, Australia's just been overrun and these laws have slowly been changed and whatnot, people have kind of heard about the Lima Agreement and, signing on to these globalist agendas from unelected officials. And, how have we gone from being under that, rule of the monarchy and in England and the UK, that type of thing. And, people know a bit of the history about Gough Whitlam and all the stuff that happened there with Kerr. I dug up an article the other day from the 90s with Labor talking about how committed they are to the New World Order. So all this stuff that people can, some people still brush off as conspiracy. What's that kind of rough timeline of how Australia's been completely overtaken?
Okay, well, I'm going to share the screen because I think we need to see just how they've done this. So if we go to CIR now and open that up, this can't seem to scroll. How do I do that?
If you hover over the website with your mouse and click on it, you should be able to operate it like normal.
No, it's a bit slow. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, if you come to this one, how the political parties stole our future, there's a video and the text of that video on the page that details everything that's happened since 1972 when Whitlam took over. But he was only the guy that really put us over the tipping edge. We were betrayed from day one, 1901, January the 1st. When the new Governor General came over, it was his duty under the Queen Victoria's letters patent to set up the government. But he allowed the current political parties of those days, and including the Labor Party, to, I don't know, distract him or deter him from carrying out the Queen's wishes. So we never actually got everything sorted out. Now, the structure of our government should be, according to the Constitution, we should have a parliament which is then overseen by the Governor General, who is appointed by the Crown as a representative of the Crown. And he was then supposed to set up a council of ministers to administer the country, including his role as commander-in-chief of the military. And then the government was only supposed to do the things that are in the Constitution outlined by Section 51. And there's only, a few things in there that the federal government is empowered to do. And then the rest of it was supposed to be for the states. But the states have gone their own way. You can see now they've completely jettisoned the Constitution. And now they're, Victorian government's bringing in this voice thing, even though we've all voted against it in a federal referendum. That means no. So what part of no don't these idiots understand? Because all they're doing is destroying our country, and this is going to destroy them in the end because the people have had enough. So I think that brings us up to where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely. It is crazy, and we've seen, different countries are going about it different ways. Executive orders, or as you say, the people have their voice heard and vote a certain way, and then they just go behind and kind of, subtly and secretively push these things through. They completely own the news, so nobody ever hears about it. And before you know it, we've just seen more and more of these rights being taken away. So, yeah, where do you want to go from here and talk about what's happening now?
Well, I think, first of all, we need to talk about our rights because most people don't understand what our rights are, right? They have no idea. They think we've only got a couple of rights and given to us by the government. That's wrong. We are born with certain inalienable rights. I actually say they're called inalienable rights. It's the same spelling because you cannot put a lien on my rights. I'm born with them. I will never give them away. Unfortunately, a lot of people do when they're confronted by so-called authorities. Those people have no authorities except that given to them by we, the people. So what are some of our rights? The right to live our lives as we feel fit without harming anybody and taking responsibility for our own actions. The right to freedom of speech, the right to work and support our families, the right to travel wherever we wish without interference from authorities, right? And that's all in the law. It's all protected by the law. Most people in Australia say, oh, we need a Bill of Rights like the Americans. We've had one for centuries. It's called the English Bill of Rights, 1689. Google it, read it, understand it, because that's protecting your rights. It doesn't give us rights. We've already got them. So what we need to do now is learn, first of all, we need education, right? How do we fix this problem? First step is education. Learn what our rights are. Learn some of the laws that protect us, and then learn the laws that will help us to defeat the government. And we're already doing this. Just going to share the screen here again.
So what you're basically saying is, as you share the screen, is that a lot of places have these basic set of laws that slowly have just been papered over by things that, you know, we didn't vote for or aren't constitutional and don't actually hold up if you know your rights and go down the layers. But half the problem with this is that, you know, the law students and lawyers aren't really taught this either.
Well,
and it's a bit like any. Yeah.
Lawyers do not work for us. They work for the bar, the British something or other registry, which is what all lawyers have to be registered to around the world. So they don't work for us. They're controlled from London, right? So you've got to understand that. Don't rely on anybody in the government or government system to save us. Nobody's coming. We have to do it. We, the people. And we can do this by uniting. But this is the article that I've created called How to Create a Bill of Exchange. And let me just see if this works this way. Does that scroll up?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. I'll talk about it from here then.
Nice.
All right, so the first thing you've got to do is understand what is a bill of exchange. Just a moment. If you take a $20 bill out of your wallet, that is a bill of exchange. If you sign a check, that is a bill of exchange. How do you create the value on a check?
Signing it, yeah.
Correct. You sign it, you endorse it, okay? That is a bill of exchange. So that check has no value until you put your signature on it. What gives it the value? Your signature. So once you understand this, if you read the legal definition, a bill of exchange is an unconditional order in writing addressed by one person to another, signed by the person giving it, so that would be me, the endorser, requiring the person to whom it is addressed, that's the other party that is demanding money, to pay on demand or at a fixed or determinable future time a sum certain in money to or to the order of a specified person or to the bearer. All right. So when you put your signature on the check, you also put a double lines there and put not negotiable. That means it can only be used by the person who's it's addressed to, right? If you didn't put not negotiable, anybody could cash that check. And it's the same thing here. And what people don't understand is all banks only operate with bills of exchange and promissory notes. Okay? So there's a whole bunch of stuff here, but this is how you actually create a bill of exchange. Now, why is this important? Because every bill, fine, rates notice, demands for money, utilities from any government organization can be settled with a bill of exchange, your signature, and you get to keep your cash in your pocket. I don't pay electricity bills, for instance. I haven't got a driver's license. I haven't got a registered car because I don't need them. I live free. And if the cops stop me, which fortunately for them, none of them have so far, but if they ever do, they're going to have to think very carefully about how they deal with me because I know the law and they don't. So let's get back to the bill of exchange. You should really know what a bill of exchange is. So if you click here, that takes you down here. These are the most important sections of the Bills of Exchange Act. Now, if I click here, this takes us to the actual website where the government posts all its acts. And this is Section 8, which defines it. And it says, a bill of exchange is an unconditional order in writing. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? That's exactly what it is. Okay. So let's go back here. Now, when you let's go back to up here first again. So once we know what we're talking about, we know the law. The first thing you need to do when you get a bill of any kind is you scan or photograph the bill as soon as you get it, and you keep the image in a folder dedicated to each bill of exchange. So each folder, one bill. Always keep copies and create a paper trail. Now, this paper trail is very important, because once you create the paper trail, you can take that to court if it ends up in court, and you'll win, because you're going in there with the law backing you. They don't have the law on their side. And I can tell you why I know this, because every time I send a bill of exchange, 9 times out of 10, they send it back and say, oh, we don't accept bills of exchange. We only accept the forms of payment we put on our bill. Wrong. An electronic transfer is not cash, right? A credit card is not cash. It's credit. It's a loan. It's not real. So they come back and say that, we've got them already, because actually you'll find in their articles of incorporation that they do say we accept bills of exchange. So they're lying when they come back and say, oh, no, we don't accept that. So if it turns up in court, all you do is you take your paper trail and you present it to their lawyer and to the judge, and you say, read this. And they'll go, oh, we haven't seen this before. And they'll come back in 15 minutes and say, case dismissed. Now, I can tell you that's true, because we had a chap on my Zoom chat. I do a Zoom chat every Thursday. And he came on a couple of weeks ago and told us that's exactly what happened. And other people are finding exactly the same thing. If it ends up in court, we win, because we are enacting the law. All right, so that's the first steps. So then you create your bill of exchange by signing the original bill, right? You've got to sign the original and send that back in blue or red ink. Why? Because it differentiates you from their printed word. And this is what you write on. Pay to the order of, and the biller's name, say AG Electricity. Without recourse. That's very important, because they have no recourse to come back to you and deny it. By, and you then put your signature, your usual signature, and the date. And then you print underneath or write your first, middle of the house surname. And then endorser, comma, general executor. And that's all you write on the bill. And it will look like that. Okay, and that's exactly what I've written on here. And then I send it back. But actually, before I do any other paperwork accompanying this bill, I just put a big Z through and put void ab initio, which means void from the beginning. In other words, it's got nothing to do with the bill that you've sent me. Okay. Now, once you do that, you go to lip forms to create an authority to process. And here is lip forms, lipforms.com. And you come down here. Now, this is not my website. This is another chap called Michael Rolfe. And he's done a fantastic job.
We can't see that, Mike. Have you gone into a different tab?
Okay, sorry. I'll just share the screen again. Where are we here?
Try now and try opening up that on the new tab, new website that you want.
Yep. Okay, there we go. Okay, there it is. So if we come in here, scroll down here a wee bit. Oh, sorry, no, that's the home page here. Come down here a bit and click on Bills of Exchange. And then if you scroll down here, with every BOE you send, you must send this letter as well. It's an authority to process the bill of exchange. So they take this to the bank, they get their money. People often ask, well, how do they get their money? Well, they take down our bill of exchange that we have signed and a copy of this. And the bank goes, oh, yeah, okay, here's your money. right? So that's all these people have to do at the other end when we send a bill of exchange. They just have to do that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And as you say, you've known people now that have done this successfully, and
Yeah.
as
You're
well as
looking at
gone all the way to court.
You're looking at one.
Yeah,
I've done it for 18 months, very
fantastic.
successfully. I've got rid of big bills, Um, the Department of Veterans Affairs came to me and asking me for a lot of money because they had overpaid me for 5 years. And I just did a bill of exchange. A couple of weeks later, this very pretty young girl, well, I suppose she was pretty, she was young anyway, called me up and said, "How do I process this, Mr. Holt?" And I told her what to do. Take it up to your boss. He'll know what to do. Never heard another word. That was 18 months ago. As I said, I don't pay for electricity bills. I just do a bill of exchange every time. And it works.
And so, in theory, where's the money's just been created by the same as you say, like a credit card or a debt that comes out of thin air anyway. So the company gets paid.
Where does all money come from? It's fiat money. They create it themselves. So when you take the bill of or when they take the bill of exchange down to the bank just creates it with a tap of keys on the keyboard. That's it.
Okay.
And then they hand out the bills, which is fiat money, which is not real money.
Yeah, I like it. So, what do you think about the current state of things in Australia, Mike, and around the world? It's pretty similar everywhere in the West, with people being really fed up with politicians, and we've seen Nepal, France, more huge protests in the UK. It's starting to pick up in Australia, but what do you think the direction we're heading in versus, a lot of people starting to realise we probably don't vote our way out of this. No. So what are your solutions, and how do you see the world at the moment?
Well, our biggest problem here in Australia is that we have a lot of diverse groups, and each one, I'm not knocking them because each one brings something important to the table. But our biggest problem is we're not united and we don't have a leader, a real leader. And in fact, I put up a post today on my Instagram, which is Common Law AU, if you want to link on that. And I put out this message, exactly this message. We need a leader. So I'm asking people to give us some ideas. One person even suggested, Pauline, no politician is legally able to represent anyone in Australia because they are all traitors. They're sitting in that treasonous parliament, and they're all traitors, every single one of them. Not one of them can be elected. We don't want them. So that's our first problem. If you looked at the big rally in London this weekend, they had a leader, Tommy Robinson. They're all rallying around him. And look at the crowd he pulled. We did it 2 years ago down in Canberra. We got 2.5 million people there. Where was the leader? There was nobody. And it was the same thing this weekend. In fact, I believe you had some very good speakers in Sydney and Melbourne, but up here we had a dud. All he did was get up and whine about all the other groups that are organising things and talk about his problems, and then he got some woman up who talked about her problems. I heard from several people that they started booing the stage and then walked out. They went down the road and had a coffee instead. That's not leadership. We need a good leader, somebody who can get the people to follow a set course. Now, where do we go? Well, the first thing we have to do, I believe, is we need well-educated young men who understand the law and how to be a sheriff. Those young men need to study. And we do have a website called commonlaw.education where they can go and study. It's not cheap because it's a 20, there's 20 sections in the course, and it's quite long and complicated. And you don't go from one next lesson to the next one until you get all the questions right. And there's 20 questions at the end of each one. So we want to make sure that the sheriffs who do this course are being educated properly, so that they know how to behave as true common law sheriffs. And the main idea for a common law sheriff is to keep the peace. Not to go out and enforce laws, but to keep the peace. Very big difference. So that's the first step. Once we have the sheriffs, Then we gather enough sheriffs, and I mean like maybe 1,000 or 2,000, and we march into Parliament and arrest everybody. And I mean arrest everybody. And then we put them on trial in a public trial out in the street where everybody can watch. We'll live stream it, and we'll put them on trial right there before a jury of 12. And each person that's put on trial will have a different jury. And that's the only way I see out of this mess, because these people in Parliament have betrayed us massively for years, decades. So I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I mean, I know it sounds, kind of radical and far out, but as you say, we are seeing this kind of stuff now happen in Nepal, where the people are rising up and they're just sick of it and demanding change.
Look, when we've got a government that's killing people because we're standing up against them, when they're arresting people like they did with me and putting me in prison for nothing, when they're going after innocent children and stealing them from their parents and never see these children again half the time, we have a serious problem with extremely criminal people. We need to start treating them like criminals. And what do you do with a criminal? You arrest them, put them on trial, and let the chips fall where they may. It's up to the jury to decide.
And Mike, you've been at this for a while now. People talk about the Great Awakening and, COVID woke up a lot of people and, the world is just getting crazier by the day now. People really start to question everything, which is amazing for people like us that have been trying to wake people up for years. So does that give you hope when you start to see this momentum building?
Mate, I've never lost hope in the Australian people. When I signed my oath of office to become an Air Force telegraphist back in 1965, I took that oath very seriously. And that oath told me that I have to protect this nation and its laws. That oath stands today. And that's why I do what I do, because I'm bound by law and by my oath to protect this country. But I also see a lot of people afraid to speak out, afraid to do something. And my message is to you, forget the fear. Fear just weakens you. And there's nothing to fear. These people are paper tigers. They make all these threats. I've got people calling me up all the time. Oh, they've just threatened to cut off my electricity. 6 months later, they come back and say, oh, they still haven't cut off my electricity because we're doing a bill of exchange with them. But once we start arresting these people and putting them on trial, we need a whole new system. Now, I've got 2 websites that take care of that. Let me just share the screen here. I'll just bring that up. And the first one is futureplan.earth. Now, futureplan.earth is designed with a 5-step plan to bring our country back to freedom. And step 1 and step 2 are linked. We need citizens-initiated referendums and a digital voting app. Well, we've already got a voting app being developed right now. Okay? So what is CIR? Citizens-initiated referendums are when we can initiate a referendum to amend our constitution by voting. Only we, the people, have the right to amend our constitution. And we're going to have to amend it very, very thoroughly, because it's old and outdated. It doesn't serve we, the people, today. And this is partly our fault, because we haven't been educated in the value of our constitution. It is the supreme law of our land. But the political parties and the politicians have shoved it aside and said, no, we don't go by that. We go by states' constitutions. Well, we're not ruled by states' constitutions. That's only legislation. It's got nothing to do with us. It's for them to govern the country, the state, and supply services to we, the people, who are their masters. They don't get to tell us what to do. So how do we reform the system? Well, let's go here to electoral reform. Now, the first thing we need to do is we need to reduce the size. Let me come in here. Reduce the size of electorates. Now, at the moment, our electorates are about probably 100,000 voters each. Reduce it down to 5,000 voters, and all of a sudden, we have a manageable group of people. 5,000 people is not a lot of people. And we can get to know each other at town hall meetings. We become a community. Now then we vote one of our people to represent us in a regional government. And then we combine 50 of these electorates to create one regional government. So each regional government will have 50 representatives, one from each electorate. They will be directly accountable back to the electors in their electorate, and they can be recalled and replaced at any time if they do not perform according to the wishes of the electors. Now, isn't that a better system?
Yeah, it's just decentralization and accountability, really.
Yes, but it's also a slimming down of our government. One of the big problems we face is we've got top-down government now. Mm-hmm. That's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be bottom up. We tell them, we the people, we are actually the basis of the pyramid of power, right? They are our civil servants. Does the servant tell the master what to do? This system would ensure we tell them what to do.
Well, I think it's even worse than that these days, isn't it? With people realising that even the Prime Minister is not the one pulling the strings. They're just pushing out whatever agenda the shadowy hand tells them to do.
That's right. Now, we've also got to take into account the federal parliament, and it's the same thing. One representative will be elected from each regional government. Now, there'll be about 100 regions by the time we figure out where the regional boundaries go, okay? And they will also be accountable to the electors in the region and can be recalled and replaced. This is very important. It makes our government accountable. And representatives will be required to spend 3 weeks of every month in Parliament and 1 week at their regional electorate to consult with and report to the people. They will also attend meetings in individual electorates as required by the electors to consult and report. So we're going to have very accountable government when we implement this, and it's being the backing for this is being set up right now. Just get the sharing out of the way there. So we're getting this all ready now. I've got the website ready. There's another website which is commonlaw.au. So we've got another website here called commonlaw.earth. And we start off by defining what is common law. Put simply, common law is, or the law of the land, has been used to govern and keep the peace in communities ever since mankind gathered together for their mutual protection. It's the body of law decided on by a community to govern themselves and to ensure all people can gain a remedy for any wrongdoing done to them. That's it. And the two common guiding principles are do no harm to anyone, and 2, take responsibility for your own actions. Very simple. Now, up the top here, we have a number of tabs, and the first one is educate. So first of all, we need to know what is common law and how it all works. This is a very good explanation of it. And these are the education modules that you can buy. Now, up here, we also have meetings. Now, this is very important because we've already set up over 65 assemblies around Australia. Some of them are still going. We did that during COVID. Some of them are still going. Many are shut down at the moment, but that's going to change because people now are starting to realize we need to get organized. So the assemblies are a very good way to do it. So an assembly is established when a group of people gather and agree to work together for a common purpose. Now, the idea of setting up an assembly is we create an assembly to govern ourselves rather than letting a bunch of criminals sitting in the parliament telling us what to do. We can govern ourselves. Okay, so an assembly is how we do it. Each assembly becomes a local government of the people, by the people, for the people, when at least 12 or more assembly members sign the charter to establish and maintain a common law assembly. Now, some people think you'd have to have 12 people to start an assembly. That's not true. I started the first one with just 8 people around my kitchen table. And then when we got 12 people, we got them all to sign the charter. And then we became a local government representing the people of our community. Simple, right? And that assembly then is responsible for basically managing the assembly area. Okay. Now, once we do that, we come down here to common law assemblies. If you want to set up one, and there's one of them near you, just click on Northern Beaches, for instance, and there should be. Takes a moment. What happened there? No. Have we got a problem here? Houston, what happened? All right, let's try Gold Coast. I know there's one down there. Yeah, there we go. So each one has an email. So you just email this guy. He's the assembly convener, and he will induct you into the assembly. Okay. And once you join the assembly, you don't have to sign the charter until you feel absolutely ready to do so. All right. So this is a very good way to get involved. Now, if you want to do other things like how to set up a court, remember I said once we arrest these criminals, we're going to put them on trial. This is how you do it. It's all here. And since I wrote it, I already know how to do this. So I'll be probably helping people set up courts all over the place. Okay. This is sheriffs, how to become a sheriff. This is a very good little video that you should watch. But people need to remember that a sheriff is the spark. You are elected and employed by the people as the spark that will inspire many to stand up for their rights and freedoms. We've designed a badge. We have a very good book here for sale through our website, the common law website, and it will tell you everything about common law. This was written by a chap over in Canada, and it's a very good buy. Okay, so basically what we've done, we've set things up so that we've provided all the tools that we need to transition from a bad government to one run by we the people, and we've got everything ready there for you. As I said, at the moment we're developing the voting app. It's based on the blockchain, and you will only get one vote on one question, so you can't vote a second time. It won't be hackable. It's on the blockchain, so it's distributed. You can't hack it. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's not the guys at Horizon State, is it, Mike?
Sorry?
It's not the guys making the app from Horizon State. That was a small company that was developing a voting app, and they're still going. But we'll chat about that later. I can even put you in touch with them if you want. But they've got a voting app for this exact reason on the blockchain. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't actually know who is doing it, but they're doing it in America.
Okay.
And that app will be linked eventually to a banking app based on the value of the in-ground assets of our nation. I mean, we're giving this stuff away, our oil, our gas, our uranium, our gold, our silver, our nickel. It's all being given away. Why? Why aren't we making money out of that? So when we start making money out of that, all of the revenue from the sale of our, some people keep ringing me, all the revenue from people who, from the sales of, all the revenue from the sales of our mineral rights and wealth will go back into that national bank of the people and will be distributed without any fees or taxes to we the people through the banking app. We'll be able to live without working as long as we keep on mining all our assets, right? We've got trillions of dollars worth of assets in the ground. Why aren't we living like kings like they do in Qatar and other countries? Because we've got a corrupt government that is pocketing it all. You know all the gold they're digging out of that huge hole in Kalgoorlie? Do you know where it is? It's in the Bank of England.
Yeah, I was going to say overseas in vaults somewhere now, but yeah.
It's in the Bank of England. We don't own it anymore. It's been given away. Why? Some people say, oh, because we've got to pay for our contribution to the wars. Okay, let me give you an example. When the governor of the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, which was the original bank owned by the people until it was stolen by the WEF or their predecessors in 1920, it funded our contribution to World War I. Totally. The Commonwealth Bank funded everything that we did in the World War, right? And after the war, somebody came to the governor of the bank and said, how did you manage to fund our whole contribution to the World War One? He said, oh, we could have done it 6 times over. That's how rich this country is, you know? So there's no excuse.
Yeah, we've seen countries like Norway do it. Gaddafi tried to do it in Libya before they overthrew him and whatnot, but it's absolutely doable.
Yeah, it's very doable. So we've actually got a team of people going around all the Aboriginal tribes right now, negotiating with their leaders for the rights to mine any mineral assets in the ground. So we're setting up treaties, but treaties that will benefit we the people. So, you know, when people say, oh, we don't have a leader or anything, we don't really need somebody charismatic to be there all the time. But I think it would be a good idea for a leader to step up, but who, I don't know. But we do have a leadership team that's been working away behind the scenes for the last, I don't know, 12 years. I'm part of that team. So it's a team effort, always has been. So what I'm asking now is for all the other group leaders, you know, there's some very good groups out there. Instead of resting on your egos, let's all get together. And I'm quite prepared to host a Zoom chat where we can all get together and figure out who's going to lead and who's going to do what. We all need to combine our talents and our... Somebody's talking to me there. We all need to
13 Forsyth Lane, Maroochydore, State of Queensland.
My phone's talking to me. You'll have to cut this out.
That's right. I'll edit that out.
We need to unite all these leaders of the groups and figure out where we're going to go. Are we going to adopt the common law approach and the future plan.earth, or are we going to go some other way? It's up to we the people to decide this, but it's up to the leaders to come up with proposals that the people can vote on. And that will probably be one of the first votes we put on the voting app.
Fantastic. Well, Mike, I love it. We'll have to have you back on in future and keep some tabs on how this is all going. And yeah, any final thoughts for people at home?
Sorry, final thoughts. Look, you know, one of the biggest problems we have is fear. You know, fear of losing your job, fear of, you know, not being able to go to work or go here or go there. Lose the fear. I used to be afraid too, until I figured out the government should be fearing me. And they do now. Even when they drag me through the courts, the 2 judges told me, no, the AFP told me a couple of times, oh, we've been watching your CIR Now website. They're obviously worried about the truth. And that's all I put on that website is the truth. So my message to Australia is, man up. Don't be afraid to confront the government. They are our servants and we are the masters. Okay?
Fantastic. Well, Mike, I'll put all those links to follow down below for everyone at home, but I've really appreciated you having on today. And yeah, we'll have to catch up again in future.
Thanks very much for having me on, mate. I hope my message gets through to a lot of people.
Fantastic. Cheers, guys.